Welcome to Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. My guest this week is Amy Terry. Amy began her career in real estate at 16, rising up from answering the phones to the top producing agent to now partner and managing broker for one of the most successful real estate firms in Colorado. Amy knows that she has evolved as a leader, learning to step into her own power, her own truth, and more recently, her own femininity. Amy's mentors and leaders have always been men, wonderful men, but she found herself mimicking them and being who she thought she should be, playing this masculine role. It was only when she got comfortable enough to try things in a way that felt authentic and true to her, it created a ripple effect, blossoming all around her. Amy's story really resonated with me, and I hope that for anyone wondering or seeking to find their authentic and true, this episode will resonate with them as well. Welcome to Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. I'm super excited for my guest today, Amy Terry. Amy, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Amy, I like to start the show. Oh, I was actually.
Could you try again?
See, that's what happens when you're trying to turn your phone off on the low, and Siri is like, I'm not having it. I like to start the show with asking each guest first to tell us a little bit something about yourself, and then next, what would be your mental victory vibe celebration? And that's something that you've done for yourself to pour into your own cup. So tell us a little bit about you, about your background, Amy.
Sure. So I'm born and raised in Colorado. I live here now, actually sixth generation on my dad's side. We've been in Colorado forever. And I've been in real estate for 18 years now, full time. So got into that right out of college. So don't know anything different than real estate. And what interested me in sort of your podcast is that I also have sort of this other world of meditation and energy work that I've been heavily involved in since my mid-20s. But for a long time, I tried to keep the world separate. And so in the last, I don't know, probably 5 years, I've really started to meld them, and it's been very cool.
I'm excited to talk about it because I do understand that difference where you're like, this is a different, it's kind of like, this is my own personal secret, and yes, I don't want people to know about it in my professional life. Yes. So I can't wait to hop into that because I too have experienced that. But what would you say your mental victory vibe celebration is for? And that's something you've poured into your own cup, something you've done for yourself. So Amy, what have you done for yourself lately?
Most recently, it was just last night, I took a hot yoga class, which I haven't done in, probably 4 or 5 years, and forgot how hard it is.
Ain't it though?
Yes. But I walked out of there. I think I lost every ounce of liquid in my body. I sweat so much, but I walked home, I got home and was super exhausted and peaceful and calm and felt great. And then today here, it's really rainy and cloudy, which is unusual. So this afternoon, I think I'm just going to stay home and read. And I have the luxury to do that with my career.
With that, what would you say your personal empowerment theme song is?
I love Alicia Keys' Girl on Fire.
Girl, that has been a running theme with a lot of my guests.
Yeah. And
I like it too, though.
Song, but it just like.
That and Pink.
Oh,
girl, just like fire. Yeah. I have a whole dance party going on over here, especially when I'm walking in the morning.
Yes.
So I know you talked about your backstory just a tad, talked about meshing those worlds. So let's get into it. Tell us that backstory about this world of meditation and energy and the real estate world where you felt like, no, the two won't mix. Why is that?
I think one, trying to be, not that real estate is male dominated, but I'm more on the leadership side in real estate, which tends to be more male dominated. And I think for a long time, I felt like introducing that woo-woo side of myself that would somehow lower my credibility as a businesswoman. And I still find with clients, kind of with anything, you have to sort of be a chameleon. And so I still know that there's clients that I have those conversations with and they're very open to it. And then I do have clients, and maybe I'm, not giving them the benefit of the doubt, that I do think they would view me differently if they knew that I was into all of those things. But I will say, especially as a leader, it's been really empowering to introduce my agents to that world, and they can take it or leave it. But just a small example, like last year, we always do a full day business planning for the following year. Last year, I just had us all start with a guided meditation to get grounded, get present, get rid of distractions before they start making a plan for the next year. And I wasn't sure how it was going to be received. And for some people, it was the first time they'd ever meditated. But overall, it was a really good experience, and it reinforced for me, I think that's one of my gifts. And so bringing that to the business world, and again, people can take it or leave it, but I think for the people that take it, it can be really powerful.
I agree. Because it's about the individual, right? And how it centers them and how it works for them. And that moment of stillness to just savor. So I definitely agree with that. But I also agree with woo-woo.
Yeah.
Because because there are some, and when you are in a leadership space, you want to not have to hear the word woo-woo. First of all, it could be a trigger. You're like, what the crock-and-knuckle ham sandwich are you talking about? Nothing I'm saying is woo-woo.
Yes.
Let's back it up, Jack.
Yes.
Know?
Yes. But I will say it's been encouraging that, and what you focus on expands. So maybe it's just my own world. But I do feel like more and more people are open to energy work and meditation and how powerful it can be. Mm-hmm. And I'm obviously not perfect, but I definitely feel when I'm not in alignment, when I'm not meditating regularly, when I'm not setting clear intentions, when I'm not setting space energetically, when I'm not setting myself energetically, taking the time to do those every day makes a huge difference in how smoothly everything goes, and setting your intentions. And again, I think that could be really valuable to other people. And I realized that I was kind of maybe doing a disservice to my team by not sharing those tools for fear of being judged.
Mm-hmm. So if judgment off the table, if that fear of being judged was off the table, would you express more into this world? Or are you to a point now where you're just like, hey, I'm just going to knock on the door, open it up, throw it out there, and baby, let's just make it go. How are you moving forward with that in sales as a leader?
Yeah, I would say I just don't filter myself like I used to. I'm certainly not going to force it on anybody. In some ways, because it's my spirituality, I view it almost as a religion, in the sense that it is my practice and it may not be for everybody. So I'm not certainly going to preach or force it on anyone. But I think being more open about it opens the door for people to come ask me. And then I'm happy to be really open about what I'm doing. But I'm very cognizant of not trying to be preachy about it. But yeah, I think I just don't filter myself. I'm really honest about my daily practices and what I'm doing. And yeah, I mean, sometimes I've got crystals in the office, I've got crystals at home, and I have friends that tease me about it, but it is what it is, and it works for me.
I have crystals in my car. I carry, I in my bag. I have a little bag that, it's a small black little pouch, similar to the Crown Royal bags back in the day. Probably not a good example.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But it's in the car. So I get that. What struggles have you faced as a female leader?
I will say in general, I feel very fortunate that I am in a brokerage that was very encouraging of female leadership. If anything, I was sort of pushed into leadership positions, which I'm really, really grateful for. But I will say internally, I've had a lot of struggles. I, passed on a lot of opportunities early on. I didn't believe in myself that I could be a leader. I just didn't view myself that way. And I don't know that that necessarily has to be with being a female. It was just, how I felt. But then once I became part of a leadership team, my mentors were always men. So for a long time, I was just mimicking how they did things, thinking that's just how we do it. And then I've, really started to dive into the power of the feminine and how do I not only be a female leader, but how do I lead from my feminine? Because we have very different gifts than the masculine. And obviously, we all have to operate out of both. But I try to bring the feminine more into the leadership role and really focus on with business and leadership that the feminine's about attraction. It's about being clear on your intentions and what you're available for, and then attracting that versus the masculine is making things happen. And the feminine, I think, is a much more fun place to be.
I like that a lot. So for young people, especially young people, or even someone that's thinking about, okay, this is a career change for me, or even any existing agents that they're in the real estate ecosystem, what would you recommend for them if they know that they are functioning more in that masculine energy? Because I really that really resonates with me, because I too was like, wow, it seems like I'm always walking in my masculine and not in my femme. So
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
What would you say to them to start?
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough line to walk, right? Because in sales, you also have to have a lot of hustle to be successful, which is very masculine. You have to be able to get things done. But I will say the feminine side of it is also finding in your day stillness, awareness, being in your body and in tune with your body and what you need. And also being very clear on what your intentions are and what you're projecting, because whatever you're feeling, your clients are going to read. So we call it like commission breath. If someone's just really desperate for a commission check and their intention is to just get a deal closed rather than serving a client, someone's going to feel that energetically. So I think it's very important to, one, try to be in a financially stable position before you go into it, because it's tough to be in 100% commission. And you don't want that to cloud your judgment as far as how you're serving a client. But then also just be really clear, like, what is your why? Why do you want to do this? What gets you up in the morning, and what is your intention with this client? Like for me, my driver with clients is I really, really love watching people build wealth through real estate. And now, having done it 18 years, I have clients that I help them buy their first house, and then I help them buy their dream home, and then I help them buy their first rental. And I even have now, I'm helping their 10, well, she was 10 when I met her, buy her first property. So that is my driver, and that's what really gets me excited. And I think clients can feel that. Like closing the transaction is paying my bills, and that's how I make a living, but that's not my goal. My goal is to help you build wealth and make good decisions for you and your family. So I think for each person, it's just getting really clear, because your energy is going to speak before you do. So people will feel.
You just made a great point. So you said a couple of things that I just wanted to just go into a little bit more. First, you talked about intention. I'm big on that. Let's set an intention daily. And I actually have a guided meditation that talks about setting an intention, because I too didn't understand that. And sometimes if I don't set an intention, I'm like all over the place. But knowing what you're going to do and knowing what you want, what you're going to attract, what you're manifesting, what are you bringing into your circle, right? And the other piece that really like resonates with me as well is being clear on that, authentic and true, because that's what's coming through for me from what you're saying. Is it's okay to walk in your own authentic self.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I really preach to as far as building a business as well. The cool thing is in real estate, there is 1,000 ways to be successful. The biggest thing I tell people is do what's authentic to you.
Mm.
Like, I CrossFit and I do a lot of business out of my CrossFit gym, but I would be CrossFitting if I didn't sell real estate. So when people join a group or go to a networking thing just to get leads, in my opinion, isn't going to get you very far. I think do things that authentically bring you joy and are authentically you. Sometimes you have to push out of your comfort zone. So that's two different things. But again, I just think if you're being fake, people are going to feel it.
They feel it right away. It's that a perfect example of that is when when someone is trying to sell me something and they're talking really fast. I can do. I'm like, this is you talking too fast. I need to walk away and think. And for me, at that point, walking or saying that is me saying that's not the person for me.
Well, and honestly, sales should really be asking questions because it's about the client. It's not about you rambling off your opinions or everything you can do. It's asking questions and getting clarity, helping them get clarity and getting clarity for yourself of how you can help them. What do they need? So really in sales, the client should be talking twice as much as the salesperson, in my opinion.
So that leads me into this question. How do you lead from an authentic place, especially we're talking about sales. Sales is you have to be driven. It's a different type of framework, different type of mindset. I mean, I've met salespeople that I have one that's popping in my head and I didn't give permission to say his name. So I'm not going to say it, but I can see him not very clearly in my head. Like, homeboy is driven, okay? And commands the room.
Mm-hmm.
Commands the room. You know when he's walked in the room. You also know when he's going to make a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, but
and I would guess that
it's an authentic place.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess that he has a very clear why. He has a very clear why and what he's doing and why he's doing it. And it doesn't always have to be connected to, like I said, for me, it's helping clients build wealth. But for some of my agents, it's putting their kids through college. It doesn't have to necessarily be tied to exactly what you're doing. But if you're very clear on your why and you feel good about your why and you feel authentic in what you're doing and why you're doing it, think you will command attention and presence. And I think you also have to discover if it is for you or it's not. You know, I have an agent who just last month decided to leave the brokerage, and I'm so happy for her because she's always wanted to be a writer. But she was scared. And so she said, you know, I've done this, and she did well. She did well as a real estate agent. And she said, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't love it. I was kind of going through the motions because I feel like it's what I should do. Mm-hmm. And I think that she can be a very successful writer. And I'm so excited for her that she's making the leap to just do that.
Well, be sure to tell her that when it's published or when she's ready to talk about it, she can come on my podcast.
Okay, I will.
That's an open invitation to her. When she's ready, just reach out and let me know.
I will. Yeah.
One of the things that I find very interesting that you're talking about is walking an authentic self, being very sure, knowing your why. That's actually a routine, having a routine, being able to take a journey to get to that place. So how did you get there? What was your ritual? What was your routine to get you to this place and that ability to walk authentically, to walk in femme, to do those things?
It's been a very windy 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You know, it's interesting. I'll share the story of how I even got into meditation and energy work. Prior to, I was very, and I hate to even use the word logical, but I wasn't open to that stuff at all. And I was getting strep throat over and over again. This was in my mid-20s. And I was getting coffee with a client, and I had just casually mentioned to her that I was going to have to get my tonsils out, which at 25, 26 is not great. And she's a massage therapist, energy worker. And she said, you know, I don't want to weird you out, but your 5th chakra is completely blocked, and that's why you're getting strep throat. So I said, okay. I was weirded
I
out.
can do that.
But at that point, I really didn't want to have surgery. So I was willing to try anything. So she offered to do some energy work. So I went to her house. She did some energy work. Also told me, based on that energy work, a lot of things that there was like no way she would have known. So it really, it was the closest thing to what I would call a religious experience for me. It was like a confirmation that there is a collective consciousness. There is information we can all be tapping into. And so I basically said, like, how often do I need to do this? And she said, well, the best thing is for you to learn to do it yourself. So I started with like level 1 classes. That ended up 7 years of classes and energy work. But I have never had strep throat again.
I know
And
that's right. Get a girl.
yeah. And so that was a huge, but it was a gradual journey. But then I just had so many undeniable experiences in that journey that I know very strongly what my truth is. And I don't feel the need to convince anybody else of that truth. But that gives me a lot of peace and power. And honestly, it just makes the world a lot more fun.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. It's the way, it's a lifestyle. One of the things that Mind Escape Vibe, what we aim to do is to bring MTO to others, and that's me time off. And I like to say, PTO is what you get paid to accrue.
Yes.
MTO is a lifestyle.
Yes. Yes.
So I understand what you're saying. And it really is something that a person that's new to sales, that is driven, that knows, that really needs the commission, has to pay. We all know that the cost of living is high right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all
Mm-hmm.
know that, you got to pay bills. Even one grocery bag is $55.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's on the tip of their minds, especially in any industry. But at the same time, your advice is to set an intention and to be true to you, correct?
Yeah. And I think also another huge piece of that is identifying and working on your limiting beliefs.
Oh, yes. I did
I've
that
seen
work.
it time and again with agents that I've mentored. They can do all the right things and check all the right boxes and do all the activities that I'm telling them to do. But if their mindset isn't in a good place, or they don't have confidence in themselves or believe, I always tell people, if you don't think you're the best option for that client, they're not going to think you're the best option for that client.
Say it
So
again for people in the back.
if you don't believe you're the best option for that client or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, there's no way they're going to believe that. So whatever you need to do to get to that place. And like, yeah, when I started, I was 22. I knew nothing. I can't even believe now, looking back, that people trusted me. But you have to find what you like, whether it's more experience or working on limiting beliefs or taking classes or surrounding yourself with the right people or all of the above. You have to get really honest with yourself. Is my client lucky to have me, or am I a detriment? And if you feel like, if you're not really sure they're lucky to have you, you need to do what you need to do to get in that space.
I like that you bring up limiting beliefs, because limiting beliefs are not facts.
Yes.
They aren't not facts. Limiting beliefs are, this is how it's always been. This is how it's taught. It could be something that you were taught. It is something that you picked up along the way. A limiting belief can be 20 years old or 2
Yes.
months old, but it's not fact. It's actually opened the door for procrastination and self-doubt.
Yeah. And it's hard because some of them are so ingrained and buried so deep. You're not really aware of them, which is also another big tool with meditation, is sort of unlocking that subconscious.
Oh, yes. When I went through, I did a lot of self-forgiveness work to really, really tap into limiting beliefs. And it was painful. It wasn't something that I woke
Yeah.
up every day and was like, this is the best thing ever. I was like, doggone it. Okay, let me deal with it. But at the same time, I didn't try to take on everything. I just started with one thing.
Yeah. It is a stepping stone. And it's also, I think every little change you make internally will reflect in your world. I also believe, which I've worked on myself, is that you're never going to expand financially, health-wise, whatever, beyond what you truly believe is possible.
Now, as a leader, when you're talking to teammates, how do you convey that in conversation?
Gosh, we do. It's nice. I do individual quarterly reviews with each team member, and it's a good time to dig deep. And I will say also, good leadership starts with you being vulnerable first.
Oh yes, get a girl.
So I think even I start a lot of my meetings with team building questions, and I don't give fluff answers. I'll usually go first. And the second I'm really honest and vulnerable, it gives permission for the whole room to be honest and vulnerable. So it has to start there. You can't expect your team members to be open and honest and vulnerable with you if you're not going to do it first. So I think giving space, and again, I hate to stereotype, but I think particularly with my male agents, they don't have a lot of space to be really vulnerable like we do.
No, no.
So it's really amazing what I get information wise one-on-one with them. But yeah, if you can make the space for someone to want to explore those limiting beliefs and be vulnerable about them, then you can help them work through it. And I think a lot of them have experienced it. When you're in a funk, your business is dramatically affected.
Oh yes.
And even we always joke, like, if you're slow in real estate, book a vacation, because all of a sudden you'll get busy. And it's, in my mind, it's totally energetic. It's because now you're like, oh, I'm leaving town. I don't want business. So it comes flowing in. But when you're like stressed and you're like, God, I need a deal, everything around you is going to fall apart. So it's working through so much of that. But yeah, I think it's just giving them space to be vulnerable, and also recognizing, which I'm really proud of my brokerage across the board, that we're doing coaching and having these conversations and treating people as a whole person. It's not, we're interested in helping you achieve personal goals as well as your sales goals, because it's all hand in hand. If you're miserable in your personal life, it's going to affect your business.
I really like that you're saying that, because it's a couple of things that I hope that viewers or listeners get from this. The first thing is, it starts with you. So it's a personal choice. Okay. No one can say this is, ram it down your throat and say you have to do it. It's a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the idea that it's about mindfulness in the workplace. What you're saying is, let's bring some of these mindfulness tools into the workplace to create that space, because a lot of folks are going to listen to this and say, oh, you can forget that. There is no way. And I don't know what. And Renee, you crazy. I'm doing that at work, right?
Yeah.
Work is
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's an old school, even my dad, I love my dad, but he's always like, honey, you're the boss. You got to keep your personal life personal and don't get too close to your employees. And I'm like, no, I spend more time with these people. And connection is what keeps someone at a company as well. Those personal relationships.
Mm-hmm. I like that because bringing that form of team building into the workplace, and seeing the change in productivity, in attitude, just in how you have a conversation with a teammate that, if you saw him on the street, you'd probably turn your head and pretend like you didn't see him.
Yeah.
It changes that perception.
Yeah.
I really like that you're talking about that, and since you've implemented and started to do those things and started to come from that authentic place, how has it changed a lot of the relationships at work?
I think they're a lot deeper. And also just having the conversations around people being responsible for the energy they're bringing, be aware, especially because salespeople, especially successful salespeople, have very powerful energy. So they, to your point, speaking of the gentleman you had mentioned, they can shift the whole room. So I think just that awareness for all of us is really powerful, and do what you need to do to reset before you come in and unleash on all of us or drag down the energy of the whole office. And yeah, we try to live, or I'm trying to create this little bubble of abundance that I think is good for all of us. So yeah, it shifted things a lot. And I get feedback when other people come in, like, And I don't know that they're even real. They'll just be like, God, I love the vibe of your office, or I love, it's just the different terms. And I'm like, well, it's the energy and the space that we've created here. So I think it's very powerful. I will say the hard thing is, as a leader, is sometimes I know a lot of what's going on with people that other people don't know.
Yeah.
And it's hard to obviously honor that information, but also not, when people are making assumptions.
Yeah. I mean, I've been guilty of making assumptions, and you never know what's going on in someone else's life.
Yeah.
And when you talk about the workplace, you hear it a lot. I mean, I can go on TikTok right now and it's a trillion videos on, I didn't come here to make friends. I just came here to work and grab my paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're saying is that energy is going to affect someone else.
Yes.
Yes, that could be a goal for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a goal.
But how much
tame your energy, sis. Tame your energy, my friend.
And the amount of time that you spend in a workplace, why? I don't know. I mean, there's so many ways to make a paycheck. Like find something that lights you up. I just can't imagine, punching the time clock and yeah, I think that's kind of, I get that mentality, but I do think it's sad. And to your point, yeah, if the whole team feels that way, I can't imagine working in that environment. And like attracts like, so you get, you can snowball towards the positive, or you can snowball towards the negative, and it's a slippery slope.
I think this is a great point too, because the advice that we gave was toward that person that has that energy. But leader to leader, if there's leaders watching this, they're like, I'm pretty old school with it. I don't want to do this. That works for them. How can they open their minds more? How can they open their minds more? Would you recommend workshops, or just trying it out? Maybe doing a little workshop just to see how it goes in your office. What would you recommend for another leader that may be watching this and they're like, I know I need to do something about morale?
Yeah. I would, again, going back to a lot of things we talked about, I think get grounded and centered yourself. For me, journaling is very powerful. Get very clear on your vision for your team, your vision for your office. And everyone's going to be different. I get some people don't want to have tears in the conference room sharing story. I get that. Be clear about what you want, what your intention is. Get clear about what you're available for in your office, what you're not available for in your office. Set some clear boundaries, and then enforce them, and have some awareness. Is there the Debbie Downer in the office that's sucking energy from everybody? Have a conversation with that person. And then sometimes you have to make the difficult decision of like, look, you're not a cultural fit. And, I've had to do that. And now it's good. We're in a place where my team starts to hold me accountable of like, look, this person is not a good fit. So I would say the biggest thing is going back to like what we've talked about, everything is getting really clear on your intention. And then you can start putting in the pieces of like, what can I do? What can I do to build that? I would recommend if someone's really interested in, and his stuff is a little bit extreme, but The Buddha and the Badass is a great book about how they built Mind Valley, the company. And he talks about a lot of the little practices that they do. And even for me, I listened to it and I'm like, I don't want to do that. But some of them I'm like, yeah, that's really great. I would implement that at my company. And I think also giving your team ownership in the team. Together, let's build, what kind of culture do we want? What do we want to be known for? And have that buy-in.
I like that question. What type of culture do we want? I can hear, so I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Sure.
Because I can hear all of the voices saying, whatever, that's not going to work over here. Okay. And I just want to reiterate, guys, that it starts with you. These are ideas to help for you to start. And in turn, when other folks see how it's helped you, you better believe they're going to want some of that. It's been many movies. Harry Met Sally. Remember when they were in the restaurant?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and the woman said, I want what she's having.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So it starts with you.
Mhm.
So I love that you're saying that. And you're also mentioning have your own ritual, your own routine. Do you have a routine?
Somewhat. I'm somewhat resistant to routines, which is why I'm in real estate. I like that every day is very different. But I will say every morning I try to take an hour before I check anything,
Mhm,
and I'm either meditating or journaling. Again, just getting clear on what my intention is for the day. And for me, it's connecting to a higher power and also asking that higher power to work through me.
mhm,
What can I did that before this podcast, help me share what needs to be shared. Um, and I'm not perfect, but I notice when I don't do that, how different my day goes and how different I feel. Um, so I would say that's probably the closest thing to a strict routine that I have. But yeah, I'm journaling or meditating every day and sometimes
love
both,
that.
which is great.
I love that you said that. It reminded me of a song by a group of ladies. They're named Beautiful Chorus. And they have a song that says, Please prepare me. And
Mm,
in the song, it says, Please prepare me to be a sanctuary. And it's saying to prepare me to take everything that you want me to give into this world
mhm,
and do it in a way that's positive and refreshing.
mhm.
And when you said that, that song just started, Please prepare me.
Yeah.
Because it is a song that I listen to as well, and that I listen to as well to prepare, you know, to please prepare me to be a sanctuary. What you're saying is prepare. You take
Mhm.
that time to prepare.
Well, and I truly believe that there is this connection we can make to so much information. And years ago, I heard this and I thought it was so fascinating.
Mhm,
So many really amazing songs and screenplays and all kinds of things you'll hear from the artist popped into their head, middle of the night, whatever, wrote it in 2 minutes.
mhm.
And it was I can't remember who it was, but it was an artist that was saying, if I don't honor that connection, that inspiration is going to move to someone else.
Yeah,
And so that's also something I'm aware of like continue to be open and honor that inspiration, honor those messages, honor those nudges, or it is going to move on to someone else.
I love that you're saying that, and I love that you're offering an avenue that I preach on all the time is prepare yourself. Take it into the workplace, you know, because someone's going to see it and they're going to be like, I want some of that. What
Yeah.
do I need to do? And it starts with knowing your why, knowing your why. I really like that. It makes me so happy to hear. It does. You have no idea.
Well, and that's
I,
why I love that you're doing this podcast. It's more sharing. Again, what you focus on expands, and the more, I was really lucky enough. I got to spend a couple weeks in Europe in June, and all the Europeans that we talked to joked about how much Americans work. And they
yeah,
would, oh, how long are you here for? And I'm like, oh, we're leaving. And they're like, oh, it's so short, but I guess you guys only get a week. And, I do think our culture needs to make more space for ourselves.
we do. We
So
do.
I love that you're
It
doing
is
this.
it is the making space for yourself it's like it's like a checkup. It's
Yeah.
checking in with your mind. It's checking in with your emotions. It's checking in with
Mhm.
your body
Mhm.
and feed it, nurture it, you know. It's not to say that everyone is in perfect health. No, that's not the case. Everyone
Mhm.
has something. Chronic conditions are out there. Things happen, but still check in with yourself
Mhm.
so you can make your day great. And
Yes.
that's what I like about what you're saying. That's why I was so geeked when we met because I was like, yes, girl, honey,
Yeah.
child, let us talk about this,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. And that's what Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, that's what we aim to do. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't got to be about it, but you can listen and get an idea,
Yeah.
and I just love it. I get so excited. So I have one more question for you. What advice would you give to your younger self to help cultivate self trust?
It would definitely be around not taking things so personally and not seeking so much exterior approval or
Or even that validation. We have a
yes,
lot of
that's the
young
word.
people,
Yes.
their validation comes from social media, what they see the next person do.
Yes. Yes. I worry about that. I'm so grateful that that all came out in my early 20s and I wasn't nearly as vulnerable to it. But yeah, I think I spent a lot of time caring way too much what everyone else thought about me, taking things personally. And the older you get, you realize everybody's so ingrained in themselves and they're worried about what everyone else is thinking. No one's thinking about you. So
Yeah.
do what you want to do and do the things that fill your cup and the things that you're proud of. That
Mm.
if you at the end of the day can be proud of how you behaved and the choices that you made, I think that's the most powerful thing as far as self-confidence and self-love. So yeah, I wish I had learned sooner not to care so much what everyone else thought.
I agree with you. I think when we get older, we're kind of like, "Psh, yeah, oh, that's what you feel. That's how you feel. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's how I feel like if you think I'm woo woo, you can tease me till the like I don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Like,
It doesn't
okay.
bother me. But I do think it's nice like I like to your point when I've definitely had people be like, "Well, I don't get it, but you're doing something right," because they see the results in my life. So I do think it opens people up a little bit.
Does it's basically it's just saying let's have an open mind.
Yes.
Let's have an open mind. I truly enjoyed our conversation today. I I really did. You gave me an idea, and I'm going to tap you. I don't want to put it out in the universe because I'm streaming this. Like I got to keep this one secret because this one
Okay.
is a powerful one. I'm going to write it down because I got something.
Awesome.
I
See,
got
we're
something.
bringing in inspiration as we're talking.
Well, you know, I try to come up with different ideas and different themes so we can tap into different ecosystems and open
Yeah.
the door for them to have more conversations. And I love that you're in real estate. My son is in real estate, so I have all
Okay.
kind of love for folks in real estate. My
Yeah.
son is in real estate. I hug on him daily. I love on him daily, and
Good. He
he's going
needs
to see
it.
this and be like, "I hope she don't say my name," but he knows. Mama's loving on him daily. And I love that you're saying, find your why. And even if that is a time where the sales are low and things aren't happening, what you're saying is tap into your why
Mhm.
and things will happen.
Mhm.
So I got an idea. I got to tap you for it.
Okay. I'm
So
open.
thank you so much for coming on. And me timers. This is Amy Terry, y'all. Dropping some gems, okay? And I am so excited to have her on the show and to just share with you what she brought to us today about mindfulness in the workplace. And this is Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. You guys have a great day now.